Welcome to the 6th edition of the Schulich Startups podcast here at the Schulich School of Business. We're excited to be here today as part of Experience Schulich, and we have a special guest, Dan Tzotzis, the co-founder of Awake Chocolate, and also joined, as usual, by my co-host, Vito Giovanetti, the founder of Treasured and
the chapter lead of the Schulich Entrepreneurial Alumni Association. It's a mouthful.
But it's doing amazing work. Thanks for being here, guys. Excited to have the conversation. So Dan, you have a long history with Schulich, and take us back to your early days here, wandering the halls. Why did you come to Schulich in the first place, and what did you start to discover when you're here that sparked that entrepreneurial bug?
So I'm going to date back now almost 20 years. I can't believe I'm saying that, but it's true. So I started my BBA here in 1998. Schulich was a highly coveted school to come to, and it demanded among the highest kind of admission grades that you needed. So it was almost a badge of honor to be accepted into the program. And the moment that I got accepted, I remember being elated about it. And being perfectly honest, at 18 years of age, I had no idea what I wanted to do with my career. I had a father I'm first generation Canadian. My dad came to Canada with nothing in his pocket, and basically was my inspiration on that. And then I had my mom, who came to Canada when she was 13 years old, worked for a large company and had a successful corporate career. So I had kind of like that divergent thinking. But I went into Schulich with an open mind. And I said to myself, the one thing I did figure out when I was 18 years old is that I wanted to use my education as a platform to gain general management experience. No matter what I was doing, I wanted to lead a division, I wanted to lead a company. That was something I figured out. So I was going to take every opportunity to take classes that gave me general management knowledge. So I took my undergrad and did a double major in both finance and marketing. And then fast forward 6 years later, began my MBA here on a part-time accelerated basis and did a double major in strategic management and organizational behavior. And I dabbled in entrepreneurship studies as well, but the main focus of my educational background was to make sure that I had a general management background that I could use in whatever endeavor I pursued.
Amazing. So you're definitely one of the dean's favorite because you come back twice, right? So that's amazing. So while you were here in that second go-round, you had the opportunity to be taking a few courses in the entrepreneurial studies program, and you met one of your professors, and you had this moment where kind of the possibility of entrepreneurship opened up to you. You remember that moment?
I do, and I share it with on as many platforms as I possibly can. It was my moment of inspiration. So it was a corporate entrepreneurship class. It was the perfect bridge for me to venture into entrepreneurship because I didn't go into Schulich with the mindset of leaving my corporate job. I was very happy with where I was. I was having good success, kind of developing in progressive roles. And this class was the class that basically taught you how to manage small, not lose sight of the small up-and-coming brands that can go from zero to hero overnight. It was corporate entrepreneurship. It was Steve Pulver. And on that first class, it was that first evening, I remember him telling the class his story. And his story was, I was a corporate guy through and through, did some time at Unilever, did some time at Labatt, and then at 32 years of age, up and quit and started my own marketing agency. I'm like, I'm 32. I want to be that guy. It was quite literally one of those moments that I had. Right. And him and I developed a really strong friendship that ventured outside the classroom. Like, I really took a liking to him. He was funny. He had a small career in stand-up comedy, so he was as captivating as he was intelligent about his corporate background, his career background. And I just really enjoyed every aspect of the class. And once I completed the class, him and I remained close. He actually ended up being one of my 601 advisors too. So he ended up being on the panel of the big 601 that we did here. And then him and I kept in touch throughout the time. And he was quite literally the first person that I called saying, hey, Steve, my buddies and I want to start something. What are your suggestions? And he openly embraced the opportunity to work with us. Wow. In fact, was one of the earliest investors in Awake.
That's fantastic. Wow. And has stayed engaged to this day.
Has stayed engaged to this day. Yeah. I talk to him as frequently as I can and as frequently as he can for that matter. And yeah, he's been a trusted advisor to us right from the start.
Wow. So Vito, what do you think? Should we get into the origin story?
Yeah, that's where I wanted to go. Like, can you talk to us a little bit about how you and your buddies came together to build this company?
So these are two guys that I implicitly trusted. I knew them. I met them through work. My partner, Adam Dermo, I met on my first day of craft back in 2002, and him and I became close personal friends right from the start. My partner, Matt Schnarr, I met on my first day at PepsiCo, and him and I, the three of us were close friends right from that point when I started as well. So I've known these guys really well, and I knew them in a working environment. And the one thing I didn't know about them was just how strong their entrepreneurial itch was until some random day in October of 2010. So we went out for a random burrito lunch like we typically did. And it was at that table where we all realized that we shared that same entrepreneurial itch. Like we were all had different backgrounds, all had different points of inspiration, but we all shared that same one. And on the back of a napkin, basically formed a partnership to start Awake. No clue that we were going to start Awake, but we said, you know what, let's kick the can down the road.
So the partnership was there before we even knew about taking chocolate and merging it with what became the company.
You got it.
Wow. Okay. So now fast forward us ahead.
Yeah.
Now you're thinking about what could be the company, what the kind of combinations of possibilities were, and you had a real strategy related to reflecting on both things you learned here, but also through your work experience in consumer packaged goods, about making a combination that would be something unique and also help keep a lot of students awake in class, right?
Yep, of course. So for us, we ended up not realizing that we wanted to do Awake until we had a number of ideas. So we on the board. So we spent a lot of evenings and a lot of weekends having beers and trying to figure out what exactly it was that we wanted to do. And what we realized through that whole time frame, trying to throw 50 different ideas at the wall, seeing which one would stick, was that there is, in the world of consumer packaged goods, one major trend that you were seeing was products with functional benefits. And these products with functional benefits were serving as major catalysts for growth in a multitude of different categories. And having worked in the space, we realized that this was a true opportunity. Whether it be probiotics in yogurt, fiber and omega in granola bars, vitamin fortified water, carbonated soft drinks, energy drinks in the CSD space, you name the category, and there was some multi-billion-dollar subsegment that came out of nothing and reinvigorated the growth in very large and what we would call stagnant categories. The one category that hadn't seen it was chocolate. There were some functional chocolates that came to be within it, but nothing that ever entered into the mainstream. And the reason why is when you add a functional ingredient to a chocolate bar, it actually, without masking the taste of that functional ingredient, you commit the cardinal sin of removing the great taste that people expect from chocolate. So we tried to figure out through a lot of researching, because we're not scientists, tried to figure out through research how we could successfully mask the taste of caffeine and then infuse it into the chocolate.
I can remember from watching you guys, and people may not know, but you were a successful company on Dragon's Den.
Yeah.
Correct.
And from watching that episode, I can remember the moment where the dragons tried the chocolate, and they had this moment of revelation that, oh, there is no aftertaste or the functional impact on it like that.
Yeah, and that is the most important thing that we try to maintain, is when you're going to enter a chocolate or enter any category, you got to look and act like that category so that you're not training consumers in such a divergent way that it becomes almost an impossible task to educate them on exactly how your product works and fits within. So
now we've got our audience here today from Experience Schulich, and we've also got the people who will be watching this that are students throughout the program.
Yeah.
What are some of those what's some of your thoughts for them in terms of if they're thinking about creating a company, starting at school, going for it? What would you say to them in terms of when's the right moment to begin?
The right moment to begin is now, because you'll realize that you get caught in a trap that won't ever let you venture out of your comfort zone. That is especially true for those that are in the corporate world that are thinking of transitioning through. I mean, I'm one of the few folks that have had the conversation with someone at work saying, oh, we should quit our jobs and start something new, and actually did it. And the reason it happened was because we started kicking the can down the road. And it's more about, not just about thinking about what you want to do, but talking to people around it. Chris, you touched on it. And one of the benefits that Schulich provides is an unprecedented network of folks that you can speak with that have walked in different shoes that could provide some experience that you haven't otherwise gained in your career at that point. And that's exactly what we did. So beyond just thinking about the idea and getting something to the table that we could commercialize, we tapped into every network and every resource we had, whether it be through our educational backgrounds, whether it be through our parents, through financial advisors, through college and university buddies. Ironically, the one college and university buddy that my partner Matt had happened to have a father who built and sold chocolate manufacturing facilities. So when we came up with the formula to try and to launch our product and to mask that taste, he came to my house and helped us temper the chocolate on my stove. That was the kind of network that we could that you could develop, and it came out of thin air.
Wow.
The time is now, and network as much as you possibly can through whatever means possible, and you'd be surprised at what you find.
Vito, what other questions do you think the students might be asking if they were here today?
Yeah, like how, so you started in this category, you've evolved and grown into other categories. Can you talk about like how you've evolved as a company and maybe where you guys are going next?
It's a great question, Vito. So I would say that our biggest evolution has been on the consumer side.
Okay.
So, we started out taking a bet that college students would be the lifeblood of our company and our brand. And thankfully, I haven't had to beg for my job back at PepsiCo because college students came through for us. But as we started getting into colleges and universities, you realize their time on these campuses, for the most part, is contained or confined to 4 years or 2 years, depending on what program they're in. And there's a world outside of the college and university campus. And as these students started graduating, and we evolved our company into more than just being a brand for college students, we realized that we could have a profound impact in workplaces where people are constantly on the go, constantly require some pick-me-up just to get them through their day that doesn't end when they leave work. Most have families to go to. And finding our place onto these work campuses or hospitals or anywhere within that work environment has been a game changer for Awake, where we've started deploying resources within that segment. And more specifically, the one area where we didn't have a lot of experience in when we started was e-commerce. And that has been a major catalyst for growth for us. So started out as a college brand, kept our eyes and ears as open as possible as our student brand ambassadors evolved and left colleges and became a brand that followed them into the workplace and developed with their purchase behavioral changes and shifting their focus online.
Yeah, I think that's just an amazing lesson to a lot of companies, is that like the initial customers that you're starting with, and when you have a strong brand, which you do, everybody knows the infamous owl, right? So, right, when you have a brand like that, you have to have an open-mindedness as an entrepreneur to how to grow with those customers, which I think is like a huge lesson, not just about pivoting the product, but pivoting with your customers.
Yeah,
So that's really cool.
It is a massive lesson, Vito. You will fail. There is no question about it. I have yet to meet an individual, even among folks that have become billionaires as a result of their idea, that haven't had some failure along the way. But as long as you are nimble, and as long as you fail small and fail fast, catching those things as they're happening, and having your eyes and ears peeled for everything else that's going on, there is chance to get over whatever that failure is, learn from it, and evolve as not only a person, as a leader of your organization, but as a company altogether.
Wow, and how have your founders helped, overcome failure along the way? Like, is there a certain dynamic that you guys have built or grown over time, or?
Yeah, a lot of people will be like, they'll be here at school, they'll be joining up, they'll be meeting people and having to like figure out how to pick the co-founder, if they pick a co-founder, but how to pick a co-founder that they can make it to the finish line with, and then how do they do that in a way that allows them to stick together? So you've been able to achieve that. What would you say to people about that?
So I have genuinely been blessed. I will tell you that I've got two amazing partners it is the most functional partnership of any that I am aware of. I mean, I've heard horror stories about folks that think they know what they're getting into and then just realize that they're on divergent paths. And we've been in harmony since. We are as productive as it gets. Things work really well. I think the reason why it has worked as well as it has, is twofold. One is we set rules of engagement right from the start. So we had open discussions and formalized our goals and intentions by listening to what the three of us, what we wanted to get out of this company and where we wanted to go with it. So the rules of engagement were there. The second component was finding people with complementary skill sets. So we each brought something unique to the table. All had different career paths, and we combined that to make, instead of having one guy with 10 to 12 years of experience, we had three guys with functional experience and 35 years of collective CPG experience to bring to the table. So for us, it was almost a safety blanket, taking that big leap from the corporate world to having guys that you implicitly trust with a known game plan, similar aspirations or aligned aspirations in a way that helps you catapult your company in a quicker way. So yeah, the question is, you're splitting the pie in more ways than one. But the trick when you're picking partners is, can they help you accelerate faster by having their skill sets on board? And in my case, it did.
Now, Dan, with all your busy schedule and everything you're doing, like growing the company and with your family, you've also been kind enough to sign up this year as an InClass Entrepreneur in this new program that we have at the school, where we're matching our top globally recognized research professors with entrepreneurs who have that additional functional experience in the field. And you've signed up to come in and be in class. What's that experience been like now coming back to Schulich and being at the front of the class and sharing your wisdom? Are you having fun?
I love it. So a little bit more of a background behind this. So Moran Levesque, who is your co-chair, and Yuval Deutsch, who is one of the core 5 profs here. I have been guest lecturing in each of their classes for each of the 7 years that my company's been in business. So Chris, you touched on it when you were speaking earlier, that you're getting not only folks that have achieved success, and you're learning from their experiences, but you're also learning from folks that are just getting started out, just a few years out of school, to give you kind of that multifaceted knowledge. I was literally that guy speaking to the entrepreneurship classes back when I first started my company. And thankfully, I didn't make a fool of myself, and they invited me back 7 other times.
So now you work with them
and now I work with them formally.
And review their business concepts as they're coming in and as they're pitching them, and give them that feedback. But you're also spending time with them outside the classroom on whiteboard sessions, helping them refine their businesses as well too.
In fact, I just came from one of those. So right before this podcast, I had the opportunity to meet with one of the groups in my class that is launching a CPG product of all things. So providing kind of firsthand knowledge on how that works has been, for me, it's been extremely rewarding. I thrive on this. I love it. Every opportunity that I get to share some wisdom on the mistakes that I made in my endeavors, so that students and fellow entrepreneurs don't make those same mistakes, I will scream from the highest mountaintop to help advance the world. That's how it works. And if this InClass Entrepreneurship, the ICE program, provides that forum for me, then I feel like I'm achieving some greater good.
Okay, thanks everyone, and thanks to Dan.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So that, Dan, Vito, everyone here today, that is the 6th edition of the Schulich Startups Podcast. Where can we find you online?
Awakechocolate.com is the easiest place to find us. Obviously, our website is our hub. Please come and visit us. Thank you for having me.
Thanks, Dan, and continued success with all your business endeavors. It's great to have you back today. It's amazing to have you back in the InClass Entrepreneur program, and we appreciate you telling your story.
I really appreciate you guys having me. Thank you.
Thank you.
Wow, we got through it, and we did it in one take. Yay!